You're standing at the bottom of a stone quarry in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon. The sun is white, the dust tastes like chalk, and under your boots is a single block of limestone the length of a blue whale, 64 feet long, 20 feet wide, and it weighs 1,650 tons. Let that number sit for a second. That's heavier than a fully loaded Boeing 747. 3 of them, stacked. And this isn't a natural boulder. Every face has been cut smooth by human hands. It was carved free from the bedrock, shaped, and left right here, as if someone fully intended to pick it up and carry it away. Not far from where you're standing, 3 of its cousins actually made the journey. Each one weighs around 800 tons, and they aren't lying on the ground. They were lifted, raised 20 feet into the air, and set into the wall of a temple, fitted so tightly you couldn't slide a knife blade between them. We can barely lift that today, and only with the largest cranes on Earth. These people had no cranes, no engines, no steel, no wheels worth mentioning, just rope, wood, stone, and their own bodies. So how did they do it? And here's the stranger question, the one that makes people uncomfortable. When you finally hear the answer, why does almost nobody want to accept it? In the summer of 2014, a team from the German Archaeological Institute, working alongside Lebanese archaeologists, came to this quarry with a modest goal. They weren't hunting for treasure. They wanted to understand how the ancient stoneworkers cut and hauled their blocks. Ordinary, patient science. Then they dug beneath the sand, next to a famous monolith the locals call the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, and they found something bigger, a block no one had ever measured. Cut on nearly every side, smooth for transport, the largest single stone ever shaped by human beings, waiting in the dirt for 2,000 years. Because here's the twist most people get wrong. This is not the work of some vanished, forgotten race. It's Roman. 1st century BC, the same civilization that built roads and aqueducts across 3 continents, wanted a temple to Jupiter so grand that its foundation would be made of stones no empire had ever moved. The smaller giants, the 800-ton trilithon, they succeeded with. The 1,000-ton and 1,600-ton blocks, they started, and then they stopped. Which means we're not really asking who these people were. We know exactly who they were. We're asking something harder. How did human muscle, rope, and wood move a weight that defeats our machines? For a long time, there were 2 camps, and they were shouting past each other. One camp looked at Baalbek and said, "This is impossible for the tools of the time. It must point to some lost technology, some secret we've forgotten, maybe even help from somewhere off this planet. The stones are too big." The math doesn't close. Somebody, somewhere, is hiding the truth. The other camp, archaeologists, engineers, historians, said something far less thrilling. They said, "It's difficult, yes, it is not impossible," and they pointed to the details the first camp skips over. The quarry sits slightly higher than the temple. That's not an accident. It means the builders were moving those stones slightly downhill, with gravity on their side. The Romans left inscriptions there. They left tool marks. They left the abandoned blocks themselves, frozen mid-project, like a construction site that got a sudden stop work order. Here's the thing. The debate was never really about who. That part isn't a mystery. The genuine open question, the one serious engineers still argue about, is the exact method. And the answer to that turns out to be a set of tricks so simple they almost feel like a letdown. That's the mystery nobody wants to answer. Not because it's hidden, because it's humble. To understand it, you have to make friends with a boring word: leverage. A lever is just a stick and a pivot point. Push down on the long end, and a small force becomes a big one. That multiplication has a name: mechanical advantage. It's the ability to trade distance for power. Your hands move a long way, the rock moves a short way, but with enormous force behind it. Every ancient culture that moved giant stones was, whether they had the word for it or not, an empire of mechanical advantage, levers to lift. Rollers underneath to cut down friction, ramps to swap a short, brutal climb for a long, gentle one, counterweights, where a falling weight on one side hauls a load up on the other, and ropes, thick ropes and many hands, to turn a crowd of ordinary people into a single, enormous engine. None of it looks impressive on its own. A log, a rope, a wedge of wood, a pile of dirt. But stack these simple machines together, add a few hundred coordinated people, and the ceiling on what you can move rises almost without limit, slowly, patiently, inch by inch. The only thing you can't shortcut is time. And then there's the trick that sounds like a fairy tale but turned out to be pure physics: water. Almost 4,000 years ago, in an Egyptian tomb at a place called Deir el-Bersha, someone painted a scene on the wall. A colossal stone statue riding on a wooden sledge, 172 men in neat rows hauling on ropes, and standing on the very front of the sledge, one small figure pouring water onto the sand. For centuries, people assumed that water was ceremonial, a blessing. Then in 2014, a physicist named Daniel Bohn at the University of Amsterdam decided to actually test it. His team dragged weighted sledges across dry sand, then across damp sand, and measured the pull. Dry sand piles up in front of the sledge and fights you the whole way. But add just the right amount of water, and the grains bind together into a firm, stiff surface. The friction drops. In their tests, the force needed fell by about half. Wet the sand, and you can cut your workforce in two. They didn't just have muscle. They had a lubrication technique, painted on a wall in 1880 BC. Now travel south to the alabaster quarry at Hatnub. In 2018, archaeologists Yannis Gordon and Roland N. March published what they uncovered there: a steep ramp flanked by two staircases lined with rows of holes for wooden posts. Wrap a rope around one of those posts and it becomes a pulley. Teams below pull down while teams above pull up, and the posts multiply their force. It's a machine built out of a hillside and some timber, and it dates to the age of the Great Pyramid. Speaking of which, inside that pyramid, above the king's chamber, sit beams of granite weighing up to 80 tons each. That granite wasn't quarried nearby. It was cut at Aswan, hundreds of miles up the Nile, and floated downriver on barges. And at Aswan, you can still see the ghost of the method when it went wrong: the unfinished obelisk, a single shaft that would have weighed over 1,000 tons, abandoned in the bedrock because a crack appeared before they could free it. A failure, preserved, and it tells us more than a success ever could. Then there's the island that put all of this together in the strangest way of all. On Rapa Nui, Easter Island, stand the moai, stone figures weighing anywhere from a dozen tons up to 80. For years, the theory was that islanders laid them flat and rolled them along on logs, stripping the island bare of trees to do it. But the Rapa Nui themselves always told a different story. They said the statues walked. In 2012, archaeologists Carl Lippo and Terry Hunt took that legend literally. They built a full-size, roughly 4.5-ton replica, tied 3 ropes to it, and had teams rock it from side to side. It didn't roll. It waddled, upright, stepping forward, one edge at a time. 18 people moved it 100 meters in 40 minutes. And in a 2025 study of nearly 1,000 moai, researchers found their bases were carved into a D shape and their bodies deliberately leaned forward, engineered, on purpose, to walk. The oral tradition wasn't a myth, it was an instruction manual. And if you still think it takes a crowd, consider a retired construction worker from Michigan named Wally Wallington. In his own backyard, using nothing but levers, small stones, and counterweights, he has moved concrete blocks weighing several tons and stood them fully upright, entirely by himself. One man. No machines, just physics and patience. Here's what should give you chills. Nobody taught these cultures to do this. Egypt and Rapa Nui never met. The Romans at Baalbek never spoke to the Inca who fitted 50-ton blocks up the mountainside at Ollantaytambo in Peru, or to the people who dragged the great stones of Stonehenge across southern England. These societies were separated by oceans, by thousands of years, by everything. And they all arrived at the same small handful of answers: lever, ramp, roller, rope, rock it, slide it, tilt it, pull together. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when human minds meet the same problem. Physics is the same everywhere on Earth, and so, it turns out, is human ingenuity. Listen closely to the myths, and you can almost hear the memory of the effort inside them. Giants raised these stones. Gods set them in place. The statues walked on their own. When a feat takes generations and thousands of hands, it stops feeling human. It hardens into legend. But peel the legend away, and underneath is something more remarkable than any god: a community that simply refused to quit. And the best evidence of all is the failures. The forgotten stone, still lying where it was carved in that Lebanese quarry. The unfinished obelisk, cracked and abandoned at Aswan. The moai stranded and toppled along the ancient roads, frozen mid-step. These aren't unsolved mysteries. They're the dropped tools of a work crew. The exact moment a stone split, or a ruler died, or a project simply ran out of time and money. Proof, written in stone, that this was human trial and error all along. So let's go back to where we started. How did people with no machines move stone heavier than a jumbo jet? We were raised on a certain kind of answer, that a feat this enormous must require something we've lost, a secret technology, a forgotten genius, some hand from beyond the stars. We reach for the extraordinary, because the ordinary explanation feels too small to fit a stone that big. But the evidence says otherwise. It says ropes and wet sand, levers and wooden posts, a slight downhill grade, a statue tilted just far enough to walk. And people, patient, coordinated, ordinary people, pulling in the same direction for far longer than most of us would ever have the patience to try, which reveals the real mystery. It was never how they did it. It's why we'd so much rather believe they couldn't. Because the honest answer asks something of us. It says greatness isn't a gift handed to a chosen few at birth. It's leverage and time and cooperation and the sheer refusal to stop pulling. It wasn't magic, it was leverage. It wasn't aliens, it was arithmetic and aching arms. It wasn't a lost race of giants. It was people. People exactly like you, who just didn't accept that the stone was too heavy. The stones never needed a miracle. They only needed us to stop underestimating what ordinary people can do when they pull together.